can't believe you, Josh. After everything, you're just throwing us away for... her? You haven't kept me happy in years, Fiona. Stop acting surprised. You knew this was coming. The words hit me like a freight train. We stood in our cozy kitchen, the sink still filled with unwashed dishes from breakfast. Josh's eyes were cold, a reflection of the man I no longer recognized. My hands trembled as I gripped the counter, trying to process his indifference. Years? You're saying this has been going on for years? Yes, and you didn't even notice. I've been miserable, Fiona. We both have. This is for the best. His tone was flat, as if he were discussing the weather. He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a manila envelope, placing it on the table with a thud. What's that? I demanded, my voice cracking. Divorce papers, he replied, leaning back casually. And an alimony agreement. I've signed everything. Just need your signature. I stared at the papers, bile rising in my throat. You planned this. All of this. While I was working to support us, you were playing house with her. Josh shrugged. I found happiness with Katie, something you couldn't give me. Fury surged within me. I was the one keeping this family afloat, while you pretended to day trade. I worked late hours, missed events for Claire because you couldn't be bothered to get a real job. The hurt was overwhelming. Let's not make this harder than it is, Fiona. Just sign the papers. You'll get your fair share. Fair share? I scoffed. You think this is fair? I flipped open the envelope, my eyes quickly scanning the pages. The alimony agreement heavily favored Josh, minimizing his financial responsibilities. I felt like I was suffocating. He took a step closer. It's done. I'm moving in with Katie, and you can keep the house. You think you can just walk away like this, without any consequences? Josh returned my stare, his expression unyielding. There are no consequences because I'm not wrong. You've known this was over for a long time. My fury mixed with the deep ache of betrayal. You're a coward, Josh. Hiding behind your lies and deceit. What do you think Claire will say when she finds out? She already warned me about you. He shrugged again. She'll understand eventually. Kids adapt. I'm done here, Fiona. With those callous words, he walked out, leaving me standing amidst shattered dreams and broken trust. I crumpled to the floor, my eyes welling with tears as I clutched the unsigned papers. How had my life come to this? Minutes, maybe hours, passed before I mustered the strength to stand. I needed to leave this place, find solace, and regroup. I grabbed my coat and keys and stumbled out the door, the weight of betrayal pressing down on me. My destination was clear, my mother's house, the only refuge I had left. I sped down the highway, the cold night air seeping through the cracks of my old car. I couldn't shake the image of Josh's smug face out of my mind. How could I have been so blind? The streetlights blurred past as tears clouded my vision, but I pressed on. I would not break down now. By the time I reached my mother's house, my emotions were teetering on the brink. I parked and walked the short pathway to the front door, the gravel crunching under my feet, offering little comfort. Before I could knock, the door swung open, revealing my mother, Emily, looking concerned. "Fiona, what's wrong?" she asked, her voice laced with worry. "It's Josh," I managed to choke out as I stepped inside. "He's been having an affair and he just handed me divorce papers." My mother's face grew stern. "That son of a..." I knew something wasn't right with him. Come in. Let's get you settled." I walked to the living room and slumped onto the couch, the familiar scent of vanilla and lavender helping to calm my racing heart. Emily sat beside me and held my hands. "What happened?" she asked softly. Between sobs, I recounted the evening's events. My mother listened intently, rage brewing beneath her calm exterior. "You need to fight this, Fiona. You can't let him walk all over you." "I don't even know where to start," I admitted, burying my face in my hands. "We'll figure it out. You're not alone. Claire will be here soon," she said. As if on cue, the door opened and Claire rushed in, her eyes wide with concern. "Mom, I got your message. What's going on?" I explained everything again. Claire's expression shifted from shock to anger. I knew he was a snake. "Remember I warned you about those late nights and business trips? He's been playing you, Mom." "I don't know how I let this happen," I confessed, feeling my strength wane. Claire knelt beside me and looked straight into my eyes. "It's not your fault, Mom. Josh is manipulative. He knew exactly what he was doing to keep you in the dark." "You're right," I said, starting to regain my composure. "I can't let him get away with this. But what can we do?" "We're going to fight back. First, we need to get all our facts straight," Clara said. "Was there anything unusual you noticed about his behavior, money movements, anything?" "Now that you mention it, There were times when the bank accounts didn't quite add up. I thought he was just bad at managing money, I realized. We'll get to the bottom of it. Stay here for now, Claire advised. We'll gather information, talk to a lawyer. We have to be smart about this. I nodded, feeling the fire within reignite. I couldn't let Josh think he'd won, not when everything was at stake. With Claire and Emily by my side, I knew I could find the strength to face him head-on. The battle had only just begun. The next morning, I woke up with a renewed sense of purpose. Claire had already brewed a pot of coffee and was sipping from her mug at the kitchen table. "Morning, Mom." She greeted me, sliding a cup towards me. "We need to talk to Grandpa Walter." "Josh's dad?" I asked, skeptical. "Why would he help us?" Claire leaned forward, her eyes sharp. "Grandpa Walter helped you and Dad get this house, remember? He won't be thrilled to learn Josh has been messing around and planning this deceit." Emily joined us, her presence as comforting as ever. "Claire's right, Fiona. Walter might be the ally you need." I hesitated, but then nodded. "All right, but how do we approach him?" That afternoon we drove to Walter's house. The large oak door soon opened to reveal Walter, still spry for his 75 years. He squinted at us, confused but welcoming. "Fiona, Claire, what brings you here?" I glanced at Claire, who gave me a reassuring nod. "Walter, can we talk inside?" He led us into his study, filled with old books and family photos. We sat down, and as I began to explain, Walter's face shifted from confusion to simmering anger. "He's been having an affair, and he wants a divorce," I finished, my voice trembling despite my determination to remain strong. Walter's jaw tightened. That boy never learns. This is worse than when his mother left, and he's been manipulating the finances too? "Yes," Claire jumped in. "Mom's been the one working and supporting the family. Josh has been wasting money while pretending to contribute." Walter slammed his hand on the table. "I won't stand for this. He's disgraced our family for the last time. What do you need from me?" "We need to confront him, but we need evidence," I said. "I can't rely on just my word against his." Walter nodded solemnly. "All right, I've got some connections. We'll gather what we need." A plan began forming in my mind, details coming together piece by piece. Walter's influence would be a game changer. He pulled out his phone and started making calls. His determined expression was a comfort, a promise that I wasn't alone in this fight. As we left Walter's house, I felt a mixture of relief and anticipation. Claire squeezed my hand. "We're going to get through this, Mom. Josh's days of getting away with everything are over." "I know," I replied, my voice steadier than it had been in weeks. "With Grandpa Walter on our side, we stand a real chance." We drove back to my mother's house in silence, each of us lost in our thoughts, but united in our mission. The battle lines were drawn, and for the first time in a long while, I felt the fire of determination coursing through me. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming my life and ensuring that Josh faced the consequences of his actions. The fight was only beginning, but I was ready to see it through. The following week, we arranged a meeting at my mother's house. Walter arrived first, his determined expression setting the tone for the evening. Claire and I prepared coffee, anticipating the confrontation ahead. Josh showed up shortly after, walking in with the same arrogant swagger that had become all too familiar. Katie was right behind him, placing a manicured hand on his arm. My mother greeted them coolly, leading them to the living room where we all waited. "What's this about?" Josh asked, glancing around the room suspiciously. "Sit down, son," Walter commanded, his voice brooking no argument. Josh hesitated, but the authority in Walter's tone left him no choice. They both sat, Katie looking a bit more uncertain now. Walter leaned forward, his eyes locking onto Josh's. "Explain yourself." Josh blinked, struggling to maintain his composure. "What do you mean, Dad?" "Don't play dumb," Walter continued, his voice steady. "Fiona has told me everything. Your affair, your financial scheming, the divorce papers, all of it." Josh's confidence faltered. "It's not like that, Dad. Fiona's just exaggerating." "No," I interjected, holding up the divorce papers he had shoved at me. "You planned this, Josh. You've been siphoning money, living off my hard work while planning your exit." Katie shifted uncomfortably, her gaze flicking between us. Claire then flipped open a folder she'd prepared, revealing bank statements with suspicious transactions. "These are the accounts you've been hiding," Claire said. "We found transactions that don't add up, and now we know why. You've been funding your little side projects." Josh's face turned red with anger. "You don't know what you're talking about. Those are business expenses." Walter's voice cut through the tension. "Enough, Josh. You've betrayed your family, both financially and morally." He turned toward Katie. And as for you, young lady, do you even realize what you've gotten yourself into? Katie's face paled as she stammered. I didn't know the extent. Walter's eyes never left Josh. You will vacate the family home immediately. Fiona and Claire deserve better. You can't do this, Josh protested, his facade crumbling. You can't just throw me out. I can, and I will, Walter replied coldly. You've left me no choice. Fiona supported this family while you wasted her efforts. If you don't leave, I'll involve the authorities, and trust me, they'll find plenty to charge you with. Josh stood up, his shoulders sagging in defeat. You'll regret this, he spat, but his words lacked power. I doubt it, I said, standing tall. This is over, Josh. You lost. Katie pulled at his arm, her own facade cracking. Let's go. We can figure this out later. As they left, the door closing with a finality, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Walter turned to me, his expression softening. You did well, Fiona. Now it's time to build a new future. I nodded, gratitude and determination filling me. With my family by my side, I knew I could face whatever came next. The battle wasn't fully won, but the immediate threat was gone. Walter's backing had made sure of that. Josh had vacated the house, leaving us to pick up the pieces of a life shattered by his betrayal. A few days later, I stood in my new condo. It was smaller, but it was mine. Claire helped me unpack, her presence a constant source of strength. It's cozy, she commented, setting a stack of plates in the kitchen cabinet. Yeah, it is, I agreed, feeling a sense of relief for the first time in months. Thank you for everything, Claire. I couldn't have done any of this without you. She smiled. We're in this together, Mom. You don't have to thank me. Let's just focus on moving forward, okay? Just then, my phone buzzed on the counter. It was a message from Josh. You'll pay for this. You've ruined everything. I handed the phone to Claire, my hand shaking. He's just trying to rattle you, she said, half deleting the message. Ignore him. He's lost. We spent the rest of the day setting up my new home. By evening, it felt almost comfortable. Exhausted, we collapsed on the couch. What's our next step? I asked, knowing Claire already had a plan. We need to talk to a lawyer, she said. We have to protect what's yours and make sure he doesn't come after any more of your money. I nodded. I'll call first thing in the morning. The next day, we visited the law offices of Miss Harper, a fierce attorney recommended by Walter. As we sat in her office, I couldn't help but feel a bit anxious, but Claire's steady presence grounded me. Fiona, Claire, nice to meet you, Miss Harper said as she entered, shaking our hands. Walter filled me in on the situation. It's a mess, but it's not insurmountable. We'll start with financial investigations. We've already found some suspicious transactions, Claire said, handing over the folder. This could be a starting point. Miss Harper reviewed the documents, nodding thoughtfully. Good work. We'll subpoena the bank records and dig deeper. We'll also prepare a lawsuit to ensure a fair division of assets. Thank you, I said, feeling a mix of relief and determination. As we left the office, Claire turned to me. This is going to be a fight, but we're on the right path. I know, I replied, and I'm ready. That evening, back at my condo, we had a quiet dinner together. Claire's phone buzzed with a new message from Walter, updating us on some information he'd uncovered about Josh's financial loopholes. We're closing in, Claire commented, her tone resolute. I looked around my new home, feeling a growing sense of peace. We'll get through this, I said, and we'll come out stronger. As we finished dinner, I realized we were not just surviving, we were rebuilding. With every step, we were moving closer to justice and away from the shadows of the past. The future was uncertain, but we were no longer trapped. We were free to forge our own path, one step at a time. The lawsuit was filed, and our strategic legal battle began. Claire and I spent many nights poring over documents while Miss Harper prepared our case. Josh's deceit had to be exposed, and we were determined to hold him accountable. One evening, Claire and I sat in our small living room sorting through more paperwork when the phone rang. Claire answered, her eyes widening as she listened. Yes, that would be incredibly helpful. Thank you so much, she said before hanging up. Mom, that was one of Josh's former colleagues. He's willing to testify about some unethical trading practices Josh was involved in. My heart pounded with anticipation. That's the break we needed. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. We met with Miss Harper to discuss our strategy, and the revelations kept coming. More witnesses stepped forward, willing to share their stories about Josh's past affairs and dubious financial actions. Katie, now disenchanted with Josh, also agreed to testify. During a preparation session, she looked at me with regret. I had no idea how deep his deceit went, she confessed. I'm sorry, Fiona. Thank you for speaking up, I replied, and for the first time, I felt a hint of empathy towards her. The day of the court proceedings finally arrived. I walked into the courtroom, flanked by Claire and Miss Harper, my resolve steeled by their presence. Josh sat at the defendant's table, fidgeting visibly. His once confident demeanor had crumbled. As the trial commenced, the evidence against Josh mounted. Witness after witness painted a picture of a man driven by selfishness and greed. The former colleague detailed Josh's manipulation of trades, revealing hidden bank accounts and wealth he'd stashed away. Katie's testimony was the most damning. She described how Josh had used her as a pawn in his scheme, thinking he could manipulate her emotions as easily as he manipulated his finances. He promised me a life filled with wealth, Katie said, her voice shaky yet determined, but it was all built on lies. Josh's face turned ashen. He tried to interrupt, but the judge silenced him. Mr. Carter, you will have your turn to speak. Walter then took the stand, his presence commanding respect. He spoke with passion, detailing how Josh's betrayal had impacted the entire family. He used Fiona's trust and my support for his own gain. It's vital that justice is served. As Walter finished, the courtroom fell silent. The judge reviewed the evidence and testimonies, her expressions stern. In the end, the verdict was clear. Josh was ordered to pay significant reparations, including long-term alimony to me. The judgment left him practically penniless, his reputation in utter ruins. As we left the courtroom, a sense of overwhelming relief washed over me. Claire hugged me tightly, her eyes shining with pride. You did it, Mom. Justice was served. Yes, I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. We did it together. We walked out of the courthouse, the weight of the past lifted off my shoulders. The road ahead was still uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, I felt truly free. With Claire and my family by my side, I was ready to embrace whatever the future held. The courtroom was silent, the tension thick as the judge prepared to deliver her verdict. I held my breath, clutching Claire's hand for support. Across the room, Josh sat with a hollow expression, knowing that this moment could determine his fate. After reviewing the evidence and the testimonies, it is clear that Mr. Carter's actions were not only deceitful, but malicious, the judge began. His financial manipulations and infidelity have deeply impacted his family, particularly Mrs. Carter. I squeezed Claire's hand tighter, feeling a surge of relief as the judge continued. Mr. Carter is hereby ordered to pay substantial reparations, including long-term alimony to Mrs. Carter. Furthermore, any hidden assets revealed during this investigation will be accounted for and distributed fairly. Josh's face turned ashen. He opened his mouth to protest, but the judge held up her hand. Mr. Carter, your actions have consequences. This court will ensure that justice is served. With the gavel's final strike, it was over. We had won. Walking out of the courtroom, I felt a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. Claire hugged me tightly, her eyes brimming with pride. Mom, we did it. Yes, we did, I replied, my voice thick with emotion. We really did. Walter approached us, his expression one of quiet satisfaction. You showed incredible strength, Fiona. I'm proud of you. Thank you, Walter. I couldn't have done it without your support. As we made our way back home, the sense of victory was tempered by the reality of what lay ahead. Rebuilding my life from scratch wouldn't be easy, but I was determined. I was free, and that was what mattered most. Back at the condo, we gathered around the kitchen table, the atmosphere lighter than it had been in months. Emily joined us, bringing out a bottle of champagne. We need to celebrate, she declared, popping the cork. To new beginnings. To new beginnings, we echoed, clinking our glasses together. As the evening wore on, plans for the future began to take shape. Claire and I discussed the next steps for ensuring my financial security, while Walter offered his continued assistance. You're stronger than you know, Fiona, Walter said. This is just the beginning. I smiled, feeling a renewed sense of determination. I'm ready for whatever comes next. The following weeks were a blur of activity. We settled into a routine, each day bringing new challenges and triumphs. Walter's support remained steadfast, and Emily's wisdom provided comfort during tough moments. One evening, as we sat down for dinner, Claire turned to me. Mom, I've been thinking. There's a job opening at my firm that you'd be perfect for. It's a step up from your old position, and I know you'd excel. I considered her words, the idea sparking excitement. I'll look into it. It's time to take control of my life and my career. As the days turned into weeks, I applied for the job and was soon invited for an interview. The process was challenging, but I felt more prepared than ever. This was my chance to start anew, to build a future free from Josh's shadow. Standing before the interview panel, I spoke with confidence, my past experiences fueling my determination. By the time I walked out, I knew I had done my best. A few days later, I received the call. "Congratulations, Fiona. We'd like to offer you the position." Tears of joy filled my eyes as I shared the news with Claire. "We did it," she said, beaming. "This is just the beginning, Mom." In that moment, I knew she was right. The future was bright, filled with endless possibilities. With my family by my side, I was ready to embrace whatever came next. The ashes of my past were behind me, and from them, I had found my strength. The weeks following my new job offer were filled with excitement, a bit of nervousness. Starting over in a new position at the age of 50 wasn't something I had planned, but it was a challenge I was ready to take on. On my first day, Claire offered to drive me to the office. "You're going to do great, Mom," she said, giving me a reassuring smile. "Thanks, Claire. I couldn't have done any of this without you." Walking into the office, I felt a mix of anxiety and determination. The staff welcomed me warmly, and I quickly felt at ease. It wasn't long before I found my rhythm, diving into projects and adjusting to my new role. That evening, back at the condo, Claire and I shared a celebratory dinner. "Here's to new beginnings," she toasted, a spark of pride in her eyes. "To new beginnings," I echoed, feeling a sense of accomplishment that I hadn't felt in years. In the midst of all the positive changes, my relationship with Walter grew stronger. He continued to visit, offering not just support, but genuine friendship. One afternoon, he and Emily sat on the patio, their laughter ringing through the house. "I can't believe how much joy they bring to each other," Claire observed, watching them with a smile. "It's like they found a second chance at love." "You're right," I agreed, feeling a warmth in my chest. "It's inspiring." That evening, Walter and I had a heart-to-heart conversation. "I want you to know, Fiona, that I'll always be here for you," he said, his voice steady and sincere. "And I appreciate everything you've done, Walter. Your support has meant the world to me." His eyes softened as he reached out to hold my hand. "Family sticks together. Remember that." With each passing day, I felt more and more settled in my new life. Claire and I had long conversations about our plans and the future. We discussed our hopes, dreams, and how far we'd come. One evening, as we sat on the couch, Claire turned to me. "Do you ever think about what we've accomplished, Mom, from where we were to now?" "All the time. We've faced so much, but we've also built something new, something strong." "We're survivors," Claire said, her eyes shining with pride. "Yes, we are," I agreed. The months flew by, and soon it was time for my first performance review at work. I walked into my supervisor's office feeling confident. "Fiona, I just want to say how impressed we are with your work. You've brought so much experience and dedication to the team." "Thank you," I replied, feeling a swell of pride. "I see a bright future for you here. Keep up the great work." As I left the office, I felt a sense of fulfillment. This was my fresh start, and I was making the most of it. Back at the condo, Claire and I celebrated the small victories. "To new achievements," she toasted again, her smile radiant. "To new achievements," I echoed, realizing that this journey was just beginning. The scars of the past had shaped me, but they didn't define me. With my family's love and support, I had found strength, hope, and a renewed sense of purpose. The future, once filled with uncertainty, now shimmered with endless possibilities, and I was ready to embrace it all.